Mind Earth, Season 1, Peru, Episode 7, Polygonal Masonry and Tuff. It seems like everything in ancient archaeology is either a temple or a tomb. The huge chupas, or chupa, at Silistani are said to have been built as burial tombs to house the remains of the Aymara elite or the Aymara culture during the pre-Inca and Inca period. This is according to Wikipedia and also substantiated by a sign out in front of the Silistani complex. It's on a sign, so it must be true. These cylindrical stone chupas are not unique to the site and can be found all over the Lake Titicaca region. It must be noted right from the start that not all of the cylindrical structures that we're going to examine are constructed in the same way. Some of them, like the ones found here in Cotimbo, some, but not all of the chupas found in Malacca, and there are quite a few of them at this site. Quite a few is an understatement. What are these things? Whatever they are, one of them looks like this. Most of the stone chupas we'll be examining are built using other stone construction techniques, but these ones around the Lake Titicaca region are special. These particular chupas are constructed using a technique called polygonal masonry. Polygonal masonry is a type of ancient construction that adds yet another layer of complexity. A brief explanation about polygonal masonry. The added complexity associated with polygonal masonry, in a nutshell, is that, based on accepted historical and archaeological data, structures built using these techniques should not be able to exist. Connecting these structures to the Mind Earth gold story thus seems doubly appropriate. The esoteric added value is that if structures we are told can't be built are built, then perhaps stories we are told can't be true may end up having some merit to them after all. There are numerous theories as to how these structures may have been built. They range from the ridiculous to the sublime. One such theory, proposed by J.P. Protzen, is an example of a theory that, quite frankly, is an insult to intellect. Jean-Pierre Protzen conducted experiments that convinced him that the trial and error method was the most likely method used for shaping stones. He took a rough, rectangular-shaped andesite block measuring 25 by 25 by 30 centimeters, which is roughly the size of a regular concrete block, then pounded it into a more regular shape. He also pounded out a concave depression into a larger stone, into which the bottom of the small stone he had already shaped fit snugly. So banging and chipping out a few small stones and fitting them together is what qualified as evidence that this could be accomplished. The hammers he used had a hardness of about 5.5 on the Mohs hardness scale, roughly the same as an andesite block, but the hammer stones were tougher than the andesite, which fragmented easily. The welded rhyolite stones used at the Inca site of Ollantaytambo have a hardness of between 6 and 7 on the Mohs scale. Protzen does not mention performing experiments with that type of rock, nor did he try to shape many angled interlocking stones, nor did he experiment with multi-ton blocks. A. Hyatt Vero once wrote, "No sane man can believe that a 20-ton stone was pecked here and there, dropped into position, hoisted out, and trued and cut over and over again until the perfect fit was obtained." However, it is a published theory, and it is the most widely accepted, prevalent, and possibly lucrative theory to date. if such a lackluster theory has such value, imagine what a robust theory like Mined Earth would be worth. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that. Other polygonal masonry theories are much more rigorous, like the ones proposed by Joseph Davisovitz, which hypothesizes as to the construction of the andesite H-blocks at Pumapunka. Here is a nice summary of their findings.
It has long been believed that the andesite blocks originated from the volcano Cerro Capilla in the southern part of Lake Titicaca. But this has been taken for granted as no petrographic work has ever been carried out on samples of the Pumapunku andesite and the natural rock in situ.
Imagine one of the most interesting sites on the planet, and no one has ever analyzed the rock. As we'll see, even this team had to take samples from outside of the site.
The research team took andesite samples, but they were sure to take them from outside of the protected monument area. They then analysed them with a scanning electron microscope. In thin section, the researchers identified a number of common andesite crystals such as plagioclase, biotite mica and pyroxene. But there was also a strange amorphous substance, light brown in colour and faded to the edges. Looking with a high magnification, this was certainly not a crystal, and the researchers admitted it resembled something more like rubber. The substance had a very high amount of carbon, nitrogen and mineral elements. It had a clear signature of organic matter, and as discussed in the paper, the scientists were able to rule out the possibility of surface pollution or contamination with further tests. The fact was, the scientists had discovered organic matter within the structure of a volcanic rock. Geologically speaking, it is not possible to have organic matter in a solid volcanic rock, and it wasn't just one anomalous blob of organic matter. It was seen throughout the samples. The only viable explanation from the researchers is that the andesite is actually a ceramic-like man-made stone.
Of course, we here at Mined Earth do understand what they mean by man-made. However, we feel the term is a little limiting.
They claim the organic matter detected in the study suggests the reaction of ammonium organic compound from vegetal or animal origin with minerals.
What? Can we rewind that, please?
They claim the organic matter detected in the study suggests the reaction of ammonium organic compound from vegetal or animal origin with minerals. Ammonium organic compound from vegetal or animal origin with ammonium organic compound.
Ammonium organic compound from vegetable or animal sources. So, according to Joseph Davidovitz and his research team, the chemical binder, which was added to the finely ground andesite in order to make the geopolymer cement necessary to pour the H blocks found at Pumapunka, and I have to remind you that I'm not making this up, was ammonium organic compound. Incredible! This just keeps happening. And ammonium from a plant and animal sources. We know all about that. The method of systematic periodic flooding of fields produces ammonia. Another use of the ammonia-rich source of Peruvian guano. And both give further weight and significance to Mined Earth criteria number 9, a source of ammonia. Find a source of ammonia and you will probably find evidence of ancient mining. So just to recap their findings.
It seems likely that the builders transported non-consolidated volcanic tuff, which has the consistency of sand.
Whoa. What did you say?
It seems likely that the builders transported non-consolidated volcanic tuff, which has the consistency of sand.
Did he just say they're transporting volcanic tuff? I thought so. The phrase volcanic tuff is a Mined Earth red flag that should make us sit up and pay attention. Why? What is meant by volcanic tuff? What we have learned here at Mined Earth is that volcanic tuff could mean anything. It is a catch-all phrase used to describe rock that is otherwise unidentified or of an unknown origin. It's a misleading term that would be better served if it was called pyroclastic ash settlement. That's what it's trying to describe. It tries to describe rock that is formed by consolidation, the cooling and solidifying of the pyroclastic ash that is ejected out of erupting volcanoes. Due to the wild and extreme situation and the wide variation in the conditions that these ash ejections emanate from, there are an equal number of variations in the resulting ash layers that can be formed. We know these types of rocks exist, but to be able to match a sample of volcanic tuff to its specific formation conditions is next to impossible. There are too many variables. So describing a rock as being formed in a pyroclastic explosion has to be done carefully. There is so much variation in their formation. Having designated a rock as being volcanic tuff puts it forever in this category because it is virtually impossible to prove otherwise. Of particular interest to mined earth, rocks formed by the consolidation of tailing wastes are virtually identical to the consolidation of ash volcanic tuff.
The Kneeling Nun tuff deposit, which is arguably left over from pyroclastic ash, again, that could be argued, looks like the tailing piles from Chino mines nearby. They're almost identical.
The point that's being made here is that any rock structure that has the consistency of sand could be considered tuff, or non-consolidated, non-rock formed tuff.
An old volcano could be considered tuff. An ore tailing pile could be considered tuff, but shouldn't. The point is, ore tailing piles and volcanic tuff are very hard to tell apart, and they're easily mixed up.
So when we hear the word volcanic tuff, more and more there's a probability that it is not pyroclastic ash consolidation rock.
Could these be
the remnants of ancient mines and tailing consolidation? Conclusion to study and interpretation. So let's re-listen to the conclusion of this study and use mined earth to translate.
It seems likely that the builders transported non-consolidated volcanic tuff, which has the consistency of sand, from the Geopolymer region and added the organo-mineral binder, manufacturing the stone with local biomass.
So it's possible that mine tailings may have been used, ammonia added, to make the geopolymer concrete, which was poured to form the H-blocks that we find high up in the Altiplano at Pumapunku, Bolivia.
We will give some final thoughts on polygonal masonry before getting back to the chulpas and the circular stone structures. And while we'll do, we'll watch a short clip demonstrating what can be done with 25-ton geopolymer blocks. Blocks similar to those found in ancient structures all over the world. We have seen and will continue to investigate polygonal masonry, not only here in Peru, but in megalithic sites all over the world. It seems to be a trademark technique used by what most consider to be separate and distinct ancient cultures. Could there have been a shared knowledge amongst these ancient cultures? Or perhaps was it the same master architects, teachers of knowledge, or creator gods that are responsible? Polygonal masonry is well within the parameters which define megalithic structures. Mined earth criteria number 1 states that if you find megalithic structures, you will most likely find evidence that will satisfy the other 12 mined earth criteria as well. This would include evidence of Enki and the Anunnaki, and overall evidence that at some point in our ancient past, our planet, or a sizable portion of it, has been mined.
Get ready for episode 8, Tombs, Temples, and Shelters.